Hey, today I'm going to show you an automated system that scrapes LinkedIn for roles that actually match your profile. It filters out anything that isn't a strong fit, scores the jobs based on things like salary, location, job function, and then feeds the top ones into another workflow that finds the hiring manager's email and writes a personalized outreach message explaining why you are the perfect fit. I'm Itamar. Over the last 3 years, I've held multiple leadership positions in a $60 million DAO, mainly as head of marketing or community or head of marketing and community automations. And I've hired or been involved in hiring over 20 people during that period. So I have a pretty decent understanding of what it takes to stand out and get the interview. So without further ado, let's jump into the demo. So what you see here, and let me execute the workflow actually. What you see here is the job finder and job scoring workflow, and then I'll show you this workflow as well, which is how we write the emails and do the outreach piece. I'll go over everything quickly, and then I'll dive deeper later on. So what you see here is us pulling data from a Google Sheet, which that Google Sheet is just an Epify scraper results. You can do it right away, like pretty much from n8n. Just call the API and then run that, but I think it's stupid. I think it's better off that you just keep the data and scrape it on your own and then just get a Google Sheet to pull the data. Then we're having some hard filters. So what we're getting here actually, like I'll show you the run. So we're getting like a shit ton of data that we don't need, and a lot of positions that just, even though we filtered the positions out and we're looking for something that's more specific, and you will see that most here is kind of like make sense, but there's a ton here that just doesn't. So I'm passing it through a bunch of hard filters before in order to make sure that we're only pulling positions that are remote. We're only pulling positions that don't require me to speak French or German or Spanish or Portuguese or whatever, because I don't. And we're only pulling positions that are, sure, like we're filtering for remote anyways, but I want to make sure that they're in the right time zone. So there's a lot of remote US. And if it's remote US and they're expecting me to work on PST time when I'm pretty much Central European time, that wouldn't work. I'm filtering for salary stuff as well. So once we have that, you will see that we started with like 900 positions and now we're down to 232, which I think is a good thing. And maybe I'll go on a small tangent here. I'll go on a little side quest. There's other workflows out there on YouTube that you can go ahead and watch now that will allow you to apply to 700 different jobs in the same day. That's one, stupid. Two, it wouldn't work. Let me explain what I mean. One, in order to actually apply to like 200 positions a day, that means that you're not reading what the AI is writing. That means that you're not like saving a draft and then going over it to make sure that it's not hallucinating, that everything is fine, that it doesn't say that you have like 18 years in fucking baking experience, even though you never baked. You just let it run, which is very dangerous, in my opinion, because you might just block yourself out from positions that you would have otherwise could have got their attention. So I wouldn't do that. That's one reason to not to. The second one is if you're trying to do what we're doing in this case, which is find the decision maker email address and then reach out to them directly, because it's very difficult to get through like the AI filtering and of the position if you're trying to apply via a website or something, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. Your email address will get banned if you're sending 100 emails a day to people that you don't know, and you might also attach like your resume in there, meaning you're sending a file. That's like a recipe for disaster. That's just don't do it. If you're more experienced and you know how to use Instantly, and you have like warm inboxes and you have like 6 of them and you want to apply to 2,000 positions in a week, sure, go for it. Still think it's stupid, but generally speaking, you can only do like 25 probably emails a day. So what this system is trying to do is to actually find positions that make sense for you. That's the main case here. Like, I think that's the meat and bones, and I think this is a nice to have. Like, this is the outreach, which is a nice to have, And this is us scraping the entire internet and finding the top like 10% positions, maybe even the top 7% positions that actually fit us. That's, I think, where the value is. Now, in order to do that, you also need to sit and think what really matters to you and what are your skills, which is a task within itself. And obviously, if you're more senior or more junior, it will vary, like how general your next position could be. But I would very much advise to think that through instead of just like blasting every single application and trying to get a job regardless of what the job is, because that makes you feel desperate and it shows later. So what we're doing next, after we have the job scoring, you will see that we're getting like a score, like an 85, pretty much 0 to 100, and then like a disqualified. So after we filter out, even though there's hard filters here, not everything comes across. So I'm using AI on top of it, not just to score, but to also like filter out the stuff that we didn't pick up. So anything that isn't remote EU hours very specifically, I'm just like, I'm not bothering. So I'm disqualifying it right away. For example, there's other filters here as well. You can play around obviously with the prompts in order to fit what you are looking for. In this case, it's configured to my needs. So we're only keeping 3 in this case from 10. So basically out of what you can expect, I would say, if you're going super hard on the filters like I am, you'll probably get 25 positions out of 900. And you need to keep in mind that those 900 are also filtered because in what you will see here, which is the Epify scraper, the link here is pretty much a search link for LinkedIn. So if we will copy it and just post it, you will see that we're looking for a certain experience level, which is associate, mid, senior. We're looking for full-time. You can also look for part-time, whatever. We're looking for remote. There's a lot of stuff here that we're already doing. But still some stuff like sneaks through. You will say that we're filtering like a lot of keywords and whatever, but a lot of shit just sneaks through and you need to do it again. You need to filter like 3-4 times in order to actually get what you want. Then once we have the positions, which I haven't really shown you how it looks like. So this is the scored position sheet. So this is the ugly, disgusting sheet that we're getting from Epify. And this is the beautiful, very organized sheet that we're getting after we filter everything. So if we'll go through like a random set, this is an 85. So let's go for applied blockchain because this is going to be the first one that we're actually going to filter. And you will see, oh shit, I went to their website instead of looking for the application link. So you have the application link here. You will see that you have the location, the seniority level, if it's mentioned or not, the location. You will have pretty much like notes in this case, whether it's remote or not, on the time zone, if it mentions marketing or not. In this specific case, it's a project management position, so it doesn't mention marketing. It doesn't mention community building, so it might not be the best fit for me, but it seems like everything else is very much like a strong fit, and there's also like AI automation stuff. So it seems like more of an AI automations position. So we got an 85 here. We're seeing Web3 space. We'll go into the apply link here. We can see that we got a 65 here on the, was that correct? Yes. And that's for a head of DeFi position. So for a head of DeFi position, maybe I'm not that strong of a fit, which make sense. So I would say check that, like check the scoring, but it gives you a very, let's say, close to reality answer on your next position in terms of what you are looking for if you configured it well. And by configured, I mean if you prompt it correctly. Now let's go to the second piece. What we're doing here, and let me execute the workflow. What we're doing here is we're pulling my resume that you will see here. That's not the actual resume that I'm sending. If I would, that I wouldn't send this because it looks like shit, but that's readable for AI. So this is what I'm feeding the AI in order to get an understanding of who am I. Then we're getting all the position, in this case 10, that were already scored. I'm just limiting to 2 for the sake of this demonstration. And then we write emails. So we want to write, that's the architecture that I've went with because I'm used to it from like old email outreach stuff. instead of just doing like write me an email, I'm splitting it to three. So icebreaker and two value props. And that allows us, and you will see here, it's obviously like based on the position. So we just saw the head of DeFi position. So I used AI-driven sourcing to spot your head of DeFi ecosystem growth and capital coordination role, and immediately saw how my leadership scaling DAOs and automating Web3 communities aligns with your mission. Very nice. Then we take there's two cases here. We're tapping into the Any Email Finder API. And if you don't know what Any Email Finder is, that's what an email finder is. I think it's pretty straightforward. I can't actually go from there, whatever. So Any Email Finder is a platform that allows you to look for emails of, generally speaking, decision makers, because those are the more valuable emails based on the website. So here we're just pulling the website and we're looking for the CEO, and then we're getting their email. And if we don't, we're just hosting the icebreakers and all of that good stuff. We're hosting it in a different sheet just to have it for later. Maybe we will send it in like LinkedIn or whatever. And for the ones that we do, we're creating a draft that you see here. So Adi from Applied Blockchain, that's their CEO, built you something instead of sending a boring resume. That's just like a templated subject, and then all of the email, here's my resume, whatever. We're sending it into the draft because if you are crazy enough to just let AI like crawl and send it directly, go for it. I wouldn't ever do that. I think that's pretty insane. Now, let's talk and dive deeper into each specific node. Just for the ones at the back that actually want to geek out and build this shit on their own. I'll probably have the JSONs in the Skool community, which I may or may have not launched with this specific YouTube video, but there's a Skool community coming. It will probably be free with tiers or whatever. I'm trying to figure that one out. Let's dive deeper. What you see here is the Epify scraper. Now, Epify is a list or a store, really, of different scrapers that allow you to get data from different websites. We're looking for LinkedIn. You can do, there's other job boards that you can search. I think Indeed is one that you can search and use here. I think LinkedIn is the best one, generally speaking, for everyone, or at least people in tech, which are probably the people who are watching like an n8n fucking guide. So that's probably for you guys. As I showed you before, you just need to put the link here for pretty much the search terms that you're looking for, but you need it to be like in incognito mode. So if you are from a state like mine that doesn't allow you to go incognito, you will see that you need to sign up. Like there's no way to go incognito. So what I did in order to fix it is I just asked ChatGPT to write the search URL for me based on the stuff. I saw that it works, and that's it. So you can do that. Then you filter out for how many jobs you need and you scrape. And if you see the run, this is the latest run. So we got 896. We aimed for 2K. Obviously, in terms of the usage, you're paying per result. So it's $1 per 1,000 leads, which is nuts because it's pennies, which also means that you don't need an Epify account. You don't need like a premium account. You can use the free one because the free one have $5 in credits. So you don't need to pay here, which is great. You only need to pay for tokens with this entire workflow, and probably tokens for the entire workflow under $1. So very cheap, like very affordable. Everyone can afford $1, I think, in order to get this workflow going. Now, after we have the data, that's me, that's how I think of things. I rather have the data already populated in a Google Sheet and then just get the rows from the sheet instead of calling the API and using that directly, because I think like it's asking for, it's just, I don't understand why do it in the other way. Like I don't really understand what's the advantage. You're not keeping the data, it just messes everything up. It doesn't make sense to me. So I would advise run it and then go here and do like a plus. You have like a new sheet. You click on import, you click on upload, and then you pull whatever it is that you just downloaded, you put it here. And then you will have the entire data ready for you to play around with. Once you have that, we're going into the Go node. Now you will see here, holy shit, what is all of this? I don't necessarily know either. Like it doesn't matter. Like what I'm doing here, like I understand obviously what it does, but that's all you really need to know, because you don't really need to know how to write this. Just ask ChatGPT or something to write something like this for you. You might need to kind of fight with him or fight with it a little bit in order to get you a code node that actually works. And I would highly advise you would cross-reference the code that you're using with other AIs, just to make sure that you're actually doing the stuff that you think you want to do. Obviously, I'm losing some positions that might fit when I'm doing something like this, but I rather do that and only keep 232 than just feed 900 positions that will have probably like 3% win rate in terms of actually feeding the roles that I'm looking for. So I would rather take the chance and maybe like lose a few in order to drop a ton that don't make sense at all. Now, the reason that we're looping over items is if you try to pull all of them in, it's not like it's not going to necessarily work. I think it will probably does, but you won't see the workflow finishes. And it's very annoying because you don't know if it's stuck, you don't know if it's working. If you're feeding like 232 items, it will take years. Not years, but it will take 30 minutes maybe. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating. But it will take quite a lot of time to finish off, and you won't know if the workflow is actually working or not. So I would rather just loop over items just for the sake of making it a bit cleaner. It makes it a bit longer as well. You do need to say that. But I think that's a worthwhile trade-off. So once you have that, and that's, let me go into the actual nodes here. And so that I keep clicking the fucking Descript window it's the first video in a while, so bear with me. So what you see here, and I'll show you pretty much the columns that we're getting. Let me show you everything. Here we're getting like a shit ton of stuff that we don't need. Like we don't need the job posted profile URL. Actually, we would have liked it, but we don't have it. We don't want the photo. We don't want the ID. The salary info here is pretty much like non-existent in 90% of the positions anyway. So there's a lot of useless stuff here. So what we're doing here is filtering and to just like make sure that we're only getting the 232 item. And once we feed that into the loop over items node, we want to make sure that the next nodes that we're pulling, because there might be interesting data there, we want to make sure that we're not taking like the random stuff from this sheet and pulling it here. So you will see that the stuff that we're pulling here and feeding into the last sheet is only stuff that we care about. So the apply link is important, the score is important, whether it's disqualified or not, it's important for debugging. Like I wouldn't want to see like a score 90 disqualified yes, because that means something got fucked up. So that's more of a, let's say, a QA thing. Company name, company website, job function, title, posted at, which I think is also important because you maybe want to prioritize jobs that were posted earlier or posted recently rather than jobs that were posted like 6 months ago, because you might pull a few of those as well. Salary, which is a big one, and I haven't mentioned it. So let me go here and go over like what we're actually doing. And I'll go over the free prompts because I think that will be the easier and also the easiest, and also it's the first fucking video, so let me see if you like it or not, and then if people drop off in this point, I won't do it again. So we're telling it that you're an expert career analyst helping Web3 marketing and community automation strategist and leader find the perfect next role. That's like a general description of what I do. You are evaluating job descriptions based on strict criteria and scoring each role from 0 to 100. Your goal is to prioritize roles that are highly aligned with the candidate's background, salary expectations, time zone, and values. Only output structure JSON. We're doing this here also, like we have output content is JSON, also toggled on, but just to make sure. And your job is to evaluate how well a job posting fits based on the user's definition of a perfect job. Now, you will see here that we're kind of giving it everything that it needs in order to make the decision. So we're evaluating the following job, and this is kind of like, if the first one was a system prompt, which kind of, let's say, tells it what it is, like who are you, like the AI node or AI agent, whatever you want to call it, or just the AI GPT in this case, because it is ChatGPT. You give it like a persona. Here you give it the assignment. So the assignment here is to evaluate the following job and return a JSON object with score between 0 to 100, blah, 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 blah. Disqualify immediately if not remote or hybrid only hiring in US time zones, require any non-English language besides Hebrew, which I speak. Compensation is listed under 100K because this is at least to each his own, but make sure that if you're looking for a position that pays you like 50K a year, probably good idea to filter out the positions that offer you 20. Internship or junior level, because that's not my seniority, not related to marketing, community, customer success, or AI automations, because that's my area of expertise and the stuff that I want to do in the future. If disqualified, return score 0 and use disqualified due to reason as the only entry for reasoning. That's because we don't want it to waste tokens and still give me all of the reasoning, even though the fucking thing was disqualified. Here we have pretty much the scoring system. That's what I used. Obviously, we'll change it based on your stuff. And the job. So the title, we're just pulling stuff here. If you ever, I'm assuming that you have some experience with n8n, so I'm not showing like every single thing. If you want someone to show you that, go watch Nick Sarayev. That's not my thing at the moment. Maybe I'll do it in the future. So this is the user prompt, and there's a last prompt that we actually dropped. So let me drop it here as well to make sure that we're not filling it an empty prompt screen. Once we have that, we're populating all of the... Let me delete this sheet actually. Now that we have that, this is the sheet that we will be left with, which I think, I'll be honest, for me, that's enough. Like for me, it's like, okay, we have everything. Let me research the companies. Let me research the position. There's a lot of things here. There's a lot of companies, obviously, that I know here. Applied are Israeli. So I'm familiar with them. Like I'm familiar with their CEO. By BTU is like we work with them. So there's a lot of positions here, and there's a lot of, like in terms of like the job function, project management, business development, maybe not so much like up my alley. Marketing, business development, whatever. Project management, strategy planning, like most of this stuff, and I already went through this specific 10. I would say probably like 80% is good. Like there's 2 here that I wouldn't consider myself like a fit for. One of them is actually like 65, so it was, let's say, like here and there. But I would say the success rate of this flow is pretty good. Now, the outreach thing, let me go through kind of every single node, but not that much because I want this thing to be somewhat short. And I know that I'm blurbing and stuff, but again, first video in a while, bear with me. I'm trying to make it like a daily or weekly thing. So I'll obviously suck at first. And now what you see here is the emails, which I think that's the most important piece, because that's the stuff that it might hallucinate. Like the output that I'm giving it here in terms of temperature, I'll probably drop it a little bit because I saw like a few messages that I wasn't that happy with in terms of what it outputted. Like most of it is very aligned, but some of it is like, you're overselling me at this point, and I don't want it to oversell me. That's another reason why you need it in the drafts folder. But let's go through the prompts and walk you through it. So you are an expert email copywriter and talent strategist. Now, in terms of what you do, your role is to help me generate tailored outreach icebreakers to decision makers at companies with job listings that were identified by an AI-powered sourcing engine. This engine scraped thousands of roles, ranked them based on my fit, and now writing to highly relevant opportunities, return the output in this exact JSON format to make sure that it's not like an array or whatever. It's just to make sure that we actually can split them in the email itself. So icebreaker and 2 value props, I think that's way more than enough. Like you don't want to, I think the email that we're getting is still pretty long, so I will probably shorten it. I will probably like cap it here in terms of the rules, like cap each section to 20 words maybe, and then you have like 60 and you have like, it's like 75. And I think that could be decent, but I wouldn't do more. And now, and the last one is just the context, like what are we feeding it? So the company, the job function, the title, the location, and all of the random notes in terms of what matters to us. So the summary, we're also returning the resume, obviously, not returning, feeding it the resume, and the AI community marketing, all of those notes. What we are left with is just to, obviously, after you try to get the email, is this structure. So the subject, you can do like something you can do something like, let's say, hey, and then we have, in terms of like, is it the get email? Hey, this. Like, hey, Adi Benari. Or like it can be templated in that way. I rather just have like a clear subject, like build you something instead of sending a boring resume. That's intriguing, in my opinion. That's something that I would click on. And what you can do is like sending, instead of maybe it's too long, but maybe like and then the position. And then let's go to let's get it from the positions. So project manager. If you want it to be like super clear what you're applying for, you can do maybe this, something like this. Like, and what we're getting here is I'm not sure why. Okay, it does show it. So project manager, build you something, blah, 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 blah. You can use that. I would just keep it simple, in my opinion, but you can do whatever you want. Then in the message, like in terms of what we're actually like pulling out, I did hey, and then Adi. We need to split the JSON pretty much in 2 in order to only get the first name. We don't want to be hey Adi Benari because that feels super AI. I came across applied blockchains project manager opening using AI-driven sourcing, blah, 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 blah. Here we're pretty much like kind of confessing like, hey, this is kind of AI generated. And then we're adding like a ton of stuff. Figured I cut the noise and show, not tell, build this outreach system myself, early hours of design plus building, because I had a hunch someone entrepreneurial like you would appreciate the initiatives. All of that stuff is I took like inspiration from Nick Serayev's version of this, which there's some stuff of it that I liked, some that I didn't, just because looking at it as from a hiring manager perspective, like, some stuff I wouldn't do, so I built this instead. So pretty much I built these 2 workflows in order to do it a little bit differently. So that's it. If you enjoyed, please, I don't know, subscribe, comment, whatever the kids do these days. I might have a link for the Skool in the description. If I don't, I'll have a link to a Skool in a description sometime soon. So I'm trying to figure that one out myself as well. Thank you very much for watching.